You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your website, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Alright folks, well happy Friday night. This is Rick Robinson coming to you live right now from KLRNradio.com. I'm one half of the crew for the Robinson and Wright Show. The other half is, of course, Mr. Dan Wright. And the rumors of my death have only been mildly exaggerated. I am still fighting the crud week 3. And now, thanks to the temperature spikes, the cedar has gone nuts around my house. So now I'm not only fighting the remainder of the crud from the flu, I'm also fighting allergies. So you may or may not hear me mute occasionally, so if there's a sudden silence and I'm in the middle of talking, it's only because I didn't want to cough right in the middle of your lovely little ears. All right, so good evening, Mr. Dan. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here. Been a busy work week, and glad you're here. Filled in for you last night. I got you to talk for about 30 seconds, I think, on America Off the Rails last night.
That was about all I could do last night. So,
but yeah, no, I'm doing good. Yeah, I've as you know, I've had kind of my social media woes the last couple of weeks, but that's that. Life outside of social media is pretty decent.
Yeah, I'm slowly starting to remember that life outside of social media isn't necessarily a bad thing. I guess that's the only good thing about being so sick for the last few days. I really haven't had much time to do anything, and I really haven't really even felt like playing on Twitter, so I've kind of gotten out of social media, and now that I've spent a few days out of it, I'm like, you know what, I kind of like it out here.
Yeah, it's not bad. I've gone from a 5,000 follower account down to an 800 follower account, and now I'm down to a 250 follower account, and it's actually, I can kind of hop on when I want. I don't have to sit there and worry if I'm going to have 180,000 notifications when I hop on. It's actually kind of nice. Hop on, jump in my room, say hi to some friends, maybe throw something out there, and you're done with it. But the problem is promotion. Promotion when I'm doing a show, I'm down from 5,000 followers to 200.
Yeah, that could definitely be a problem.
Yeah. But to let everybody out there know that we actually have an account for our show now, which is at Rick R_Dan W. So that's where all of our promotion will be going through now. So now I don't have to stress out about the fact that the trolls keep getting my account zapped and I have no way to promote my shows, which has been absolutely stressing me out.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really stress out about that kind of stuff anymore. I gotta admit I used to, but I don't know. I just figure at this point the trolls.
It's wanting to be able to promote my shows. That's all. That's why I liked having my account. That wasn't, so by some standards, a big account, but to me it was, to have 5,000 people that I could send my promotion out to. You know, it was. I liked having that, but now. We have a show account that is in no way tied to me by any kind of IP address, phone number, or email. So that's what we have to promote the show, and I'm happy.
Woohoo! So speaking of shows, there's been a lot of stuff that's gone on this week. So unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard a couple of interesting things. You know, there was this whole women's march this last weekend. And apparently, Ashley Judd had some interesting things to say. Kind of like this.
We are here to be nasty.
Did she have to go to D.C. to do that?
Pretty
sure she's nasty
she succeeded.
She goes.
She succeeded at being nasty.
Well, I mean, at least at this point, she admits it. I mean, she says it right here.
I'm a nasty woman.
I mean, you know, at least if you're good, I mean, the first step to acknowledging that you have a problem is admitting there's a problem. So I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I would insert something there, but I won't. I don't. Boy, I just used wrong words there.
Nobody else wants to insert anything there either. That's the problem.
No. I would add something to that, but I won't. Is that better terminology?
Well, you should have known I was going to go there, so you said what you said. But yeah,
yeah. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, "Oops, that was wrong." The whole women's march thing. I mean, honestly, if you're going to dress up like a vagina in March, I'm not going to take you seriously. They think that's being edgy, and that's going to get them attention. It gets them attention, but not in the right way. It makes me laugh at you and say you're a clown.
I mean, who the heck thought that was a good idea? We're going to put a march together, and we're going to get as many women as we can to wear vagina hats and dress like vaginas, because the march is going to be all about the vajayjay. I mean, who in the world thought that was a good idea? And the scariest thing about this march is, you know, it turned into a protest march. But remember, all of this stuff was planned out months and months and months ago, because they were so confident. And again, I have to kind of eat my hat here because I kind of thought so too. But they were so confident that Hillary Clinton was going to win. These were supposed to be women's solidarity marches that were already planned out, already booked, already ready to go. And then when she lost, they had to find an excuse to continue to do the march because they'd already shelled out all the money and got all the permits and everything else. So it became a pro-abort rally. And I'm sorry, that's what it is. That's what I'm going to call it. When you spend the majority of the time you're there walking around talking about vaginas, then obviously there's only one reason you're there. And that's because you want people to stay out of your vagina. Trust me, ladies, most of you that were there have no issues with people staying out of your vagina. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. and what made me just totally lose any sense that it was a serious thing was when they called it the Women's March and said that pro-life women weren't invited. It's not a women's march. It's a pro-abortion march. That's what it was.
Well, I mean, yeah, and that's the whole thing. You can't call it a pro-women's march and then say, well, you know, We're going to call it a women's march, but we're not going to let the women that think abortion is a bad idea come because they don't agree with us. So therefore, the thing about it is it gives people the impression that you think that the women that think abortion is a bad idea are somehow less of a woman than you because they think that the life in their womb actually matters and you don't. And I don't understand that whole concept because in the whole thing about this idea that we're trying to get women back to the 1950s and make abortion illegal. Maybe there is a segment of the Republican Party that really wants to do that, but I think most of us that are conservative understand that the Republican Party, that abortion's never really going to go away again. But what we're trying to get away from is this abortion on demand concept where it's used as birth control. Roe v. Wade never intended it to be used as birth control. It was intended to be a last resort. And it was supposed to be very, very rare. And it's not rare anymore. We're talking about millions and millions and millions of children that are killed every year. There's no other way to put it. They're killed every year. And I understand that from a lot of leftist point of view, don't tell me that I can't abort my child unless you're going to be willing to step up and take care of that child. You don't know how many hundreds and thousands of people want to adopt children every single day. And a lot of times it wouldn't matter because they're not there. The thing to think about is what if out of these millions and millions of people that have been aborted, which one of these children might have come up with the cure for cancer? Which one of these children might have come up with the technology that we needed to take us to the stars? Which one of these children might have found a way to cure world hunger? And they can't now because they're not here. We don't know the potential that we're snuffing out every single time that someone decides that their life is more important than another.
Exactly. And I get torn. I have daughters and I I'll bring some personal life into this. I had a little problem with my youngest daughter last weekend, and she got mad at me and basically said, well, what if me, your 15-year-old daughter, was raped and got pregnant? And I said, well, that's really I pretty much said, that's really a bad way to put it to me, because number one, if you go to the hospital, they're going to give you plan B. Number two, I'm not going to tell somebody, whether I'm happy about it or not, I am not going to tell somebody that was raped that they have to carry that child. I'm not. That I don't feel is my place. My view on everything is that abortion is not birth control. If you're having casual sex, if you're having sex with your boyfriend, you and your boyfriend need to figure out how to make that work. And yes, sometimes there's accidents. I know people that are close to me that were on birth control, or I have a buddy that had a vasectomy that reversed itself. He wasn't married, but he was with his girlfriend of like 4 years, and she got pregnant. He had a vasectomy. He was pissed. He was like, how the hell are you pregnant? I had a vasectomy. He goes to the doctor. His vasectomy reversed itself. Stuff happens. And they ended up getting married and had 2 more daughters after that. Beautiful kids. One of those, my unintended joys. But at first it was a problem. This is my buddy. He's calling me. He's like, she's pregnant. I had a vasectomy. What do I do about this? Well, it was his kid. Stuff happens, But, in the case of rape, I'm not gonna sit there and I'm not gonna tell a woman, you got raped and now you have to spend the rest of your life dealing with this. I'm not going to tell her that. I might say, you might remember that that's still your child, I might try to talk her into at least going the adoption route, but I'm not going to tell her she can't do what she wants to do.
No, and I completely agree. I mean, there are certain instances where I don't think there's anything that anyone but the person that's involved with it should decide what happens with the child, and rape would be one of those instances. But at the same time, I mean, at this point, we're getting to the point where there's an abortion clinic at this point. You can see them almost as often as you see convenience stores, and to me, that is a problem. And it's a big issue, and I think that is actually been exemplified pretty well this weekend about how big of an issue it is, because now it is the pro-life's turn to come out and have a march, and apparently there have been lots of pictures going out about all of that started to go on, and apparently the crowds were bigger than anticipated, and it's been actually, oddly enough, though, I really haven't heard too much about it on the news. I've seen a lot of it on social media, but honestly, I've been kind of avoiding the news today because I still have been feeling a bit under the weather, and I didn't really feel like yelling at my TV screen before I went on the air. So I could be speaking out of turn, but I haven't heard too much about it on the news.
Yeah. It was, other than, on social media, all over the place. On the news, meh. But, I mean, nothing outrageous going on. Maybe that's our problem. We aren't outrageous.
Maybe. I mean, we're not running around in a bunch of bloody sheets or running around in bloody baby costumes or anything.
Wearing, the women aren't running around wearing, some of the stuff I saw, I don't even want to go into what I saw people wearing. I don't. When I lived in DC, we were downtown with family that was visiting, and hadn't even really thought about it. And it was the weekend of the Gay Pride Parade. You did not see a couple families hustle children out of DC quicker. Same kind of thing. My kids would not have been anywhere near DC last weekend.
Yeah, I can't think of any good reason to have them there. But I'm sure other people would have disagreed for some crazy reason.
Yeah. I just, I don't want to get into the whole Gay Pride Parade, but if you're ever in DC when that's going on and you have children, take that day off.
Run the other way.
Do not do your sightseeing.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Run the other way.
Exactly. And yes, some of the speeches that went on, and I know everybody's well aware of it now. I mean, and she's tried to backpedal and it didn't work. Listening to Madonna saying that she's been thinking about blowing up the White House. What if somebody had said that while Obama was there?
Well, to be truthful, Trump hasn't been in there for very long, so if she's been thinking about blowing up the White House, my question is, how long has she been thinking about blowing up the White House? And who is actually occupying it?
I think she's been thinking about it since November 8th.
Probably, but still.
I don't know. That saying something like that, I mean, there's, I don't know. You heard about this Secret Service agent, I'm sure, that went on Facebook, I guess, and posted that there is no way she could ever see herself.
Yeah, the Secret Service
defending
agent,
or taking a bullet for Donald Trump.
Yeah, the Secret Service agent that violated the Hatch Act and said, "Screw it, I'm with her. I would never take a bullet for this guy." Yeah, I saw that. You know, the funny thing is, I don't remember hearing any Secret Service agents ever say anything like that about Obama.
No. And what would have happened if they had?
Well, they would have been racist and would have been drummed out.
Exactly. And it's the double standards. I'm liking the double standards. I want them to keep up with the double standards. I kind of mentioned it last night. I mean, keep up with the double standards. If you want to keep doing it, we'll just, I say will. I'm really not a Republican, but we'll just take another couple or 300 seats in 2018 around the country.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they really don't have much real estate left, so they really need to stop and think about what it is that they're doing, because at this point, doing what they're doing isn't really accomplishing much of anything other than reminding those of us on the right why it is that why we've fought them this entire time anyway.
Yeah, and it's turning people away. I have liberal friends, and I see an awful lot of my liberal friends becoming much more moderate because they're looking at stuff that's going on, like the march last weekend, and they're going, what in the hell am I aligned with right now? I'm seeing a lot more of that, and maybe it's the fact that they're liberal friends that are friends of mine, which means that maybe they were kind of moderate to begin with, but they're pushing more and more moderate because they think that the stuff that's going on is ridiculous. They think that the overdoing it with the bashing of Trump is ridiculous. They're like, oh my God, let's let the guy at least give him a chance to do something. I mean, if you see stuff, everything that Trump says, Rachel Maddow saying, see, he's lying. He's a liar. He's a liar. Liar, 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 liar. Never once said that Obama told a single lie. Already has probably said that Trump's in the last week. It's disingenuous. It's just, and they keep doing it, and I'm liking it. I'm a lot of people are getting so mad at them, and I'm not. I'm laughing. I'm like, you're just going to keep doing it. Just keep doing it. I really thought it was going to be the Republican Party that absolutely and totally nosedived and was completely destroyed with this election. It's not. The Democratic Party is doing it to themselves. They had the perfect opportunity. And they're destroying themselves. And it's, I almost want to stop talking about it because I don't want them to catch hand. I want them to keep going. I just want them to keep doing what they're doing.
All right, well, believe it or not, it's about time for a break. Now I want to get a little bit of a chime in coming in from the chat room, backing up to the whole Madonna situation. Alan in the chat room basically said he had a point of clarification. He wanted to know if we were sure that she was talking about blowing up the White House or just blowing the White House. But on that note, we're going to take a really quick break. Pace and Bill will be right back here in just about 4 minutes or so. You are listening to Robinson and Wright right here live on KLRNradio.com. We'll be back in just a few.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at raharden.com. That's the World Wide Web at RAHARDIN.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Having a place to go after school will make you a better student. Having an outlet to express yourself will make you a better artist. Having something to do together will make you a better family. At the Y, we're helping build better friends, listeners, writers, swimmers, scientists, and musicians, one chance at a time. Give the gift of opportunity. Support the Y at ymca.net. The Y, for a better us.
Alright folks, we are back. We are live. We're already through the first half of hour number 1. This is Robinson and Wright Show. And sadly, my internet connection is being a little bit crazy this evening. I've been getting reports that we're cutting in and out a little bit. I'm trying to minimize the amount of things I have open in the hopes that we can kind of get the latency issue back under control. But Dan, if you don't mind, I'm going to let you kind of talk for a second so I can go make sure that everything else that is typically connected to the network has been removed from said network, so hopefully we can get this latency back under control.
That works. I did want to bring up a story that kind of cracked me up. that Jesse had sent us before we went on the air. That apparently, what school was it? Let me pull this up really quick. This story made me chuckle. I'm pulling it up right now. And where is it? Yes, at Bowling Green State University. A student was walking by the lab, apparently, and there was a bunch of lab equipment that was covered with sheets. And the student went and got a big kind of to-do going on, saying that in this building there was a KKK meeting going on, because she was walking by and she looked through the window and she saw sheets and points, and there was a KKK meeting going on, and it got everything in an uproar at Bowling Green University that there's a KKK chapter there and everything else. I mean, that's where we are now. It was a bunch of lab equipment covered with sheets, and it cracked me up. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to read the whole article by the time I caught it. Jesse sent it to us a little bit before we went on the air, but then I caught it right before we went on the air, and I started reading it, and it's just hilarious that everything now is everybody's seems to be looking for this, and it cracks me up. I mean, it's like everybody thinks that now that Obama's not president, Donald Trump is, that it's the rise of the KKK and the Nazi Party, and the world's going to end, and we are going to be Nazi Germany before the end of 4 years. People really need to sit back and take a deep breath. It's killing me. It's absolutely killing me how people are acting. Back to the stuff that was going on, which the march really ended up being not just a pro-abortion protest, but an anti-Trump protest. Whatever. And watching them, and then watching the whole Shia LaBeouf thing with him getting arrested, and them just chanting over and over again, "He will not divide us. He will not divide us." They're literally creating cults to go against the President of the United States. And to walk by a lab that has equipment covered with, it wasn't even sheets. I saw the picture. It looks like it was more like plastic. To see equipment covered with plastic through a window and run to university officials and tell them there's a KKK meeting going on in the science building. Unhinged. People are completely unhinged right now, and it's cracking me up. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just absolutely cracking me up. The article, it's a National Review article. If you want to check it out, it's by Catherine Timpf from Fox News, who does Gutfeld on the weekends. She's a libertarian. She's great. But it's to walk by a science building and think that there's KKK meeting going on because of covered equipment just absolutely points to the fact that everybody's looking for something. Everybody's just looking for something. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, the thought processes that are going on right now. And actually, Jesse sent me another little story that I wanted to touch on, so I may as well do that now, about a liquor store manager that shot an armed robber in Texas. That is why we have the Second Amendment that liberals don't seem to understand. Is this gentleman runs a business. Someone came in to rob him. Somebody was armed. They came in to rob him. He took care of the problem. If he had to depend on the police getting there, he would have either lost everything that the business had in that store that day, or he'd be dead. Instead, he protected himself, he protected the business, and he shot the scumbag that is too worthless to go out and get a job and work and wants to just steal from somebody. That scumbag deserved to get shot, and the store manager deserved to protect himself. And that's what that's what the Second Amendment gets you. It gets you protection. I lived in the D.C. area for a long time. I had a family that was friends of mine that owned a liquor store in Hyattsville, Maryland, which is right there at the D.C. border. And everybody that worked at that store carried. Do you want to know how many times that store was robbed? Zero. They open carried the store since the day it was opened in like 1963, I believe. That store has never been robbed, and every employee carries. That tells you something. You back there, Rick?
Yeah, I've been back for a little bit. You're just kind of on a roll, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Am I correct in my assumption that the Second Amendment actually works?
Well, of course the Second Amendment works.
It's a store that's literally on the outskirts of southeast, southwest D.C., a liquor store that's open. They don't have the stupid, bulletproof, you walk up, tell them what you want, they get it for you, give you the money. You walk into the store. Every employee in that store has a Glock or an MP on their side. It's never once been robbed. Never. In, 50 years that it's been open.
Well, no, I mean...
It works.
Yeah, I mean, it works. I mean, honestly, think about it for a second. Everybody talks about the fact that we have some of the worst gun violence in some of the more heavily regulated cities in the country. But look at other countries that require that their people do years of military service, and each one of them is required to carry a gun in their, or have a gun in their home. They have almost zero gun crime. I don't remember. I think it was Sweden that actually requires that everybody above the age of 18 does at least 2 years worth of military service. They usually get to keep their service weapon after they have finished their mandatory tour, and they have almost no gun violence. None.
You're absolutely correct.
Because everybody understands how to use it, and they understand that a gun is a tool. It's not. And that's what it is. A gun is a tool. All of these stories that make it sound like that an AR-15 jumped up, ran into a school, pulled its own trigger, and shot a bunch of people. The gun itself is the tool. The tool is not the problem. The problem is the person wielding the tool.
Well, yeah, and that's points to something that I like to say all the time, that in Israel, most of the teachers are trained in carry, and most of the staff in the schools are trained in carry. And if there's one thing you never hear about in Israel, is a school shooting. You never hear about a school shooting in Israel. You hear about a lot of stuff in Israel, but you never hear about a school shooting. And that's a country that is literally surrounded by its enemy. You never hear about a school shooting because the enemy isn't stupid enough to walk into some place where they know everybody is armed. It makes no sense. Why would you? You know, what happens here? You have a theater shooting, or you have a nightclub shooting. That theater, that nightclub, 99.9% of the time, you find out it was a gun-free zone. You know, and that's something that's kind of been reversed here in North Carolina that always bothered me, is that when you get your concealed carry permit in North Carolina, at least a few years ago, stipulations of your concealed carry were that you could not carry in a bar or a restaurant that had a bar. Basically making bars and restaurants gun-free zones. Well, they've reversed that. Now, you're not supposed to drink while you're carrying. I get that. But at least now, with a concealed carry permit, you can walk into a restaurant that has a bar and carry as long as you're not drinking. I just always thought that it's why for a long time I refused a concealed carry permit. You know, there were actually certain restrictions when you get your permit that you had to abide by no matter what. And North Carolina has reversed those, like the restaurant bar thing, and also if you didn't have your concealed carry permit, your concealed carry permit, if you pulled up to your home and you found your door ajar, you were supposed to go back to your car and call the police. You could not go in and investigate. Which made no sense to me. Since we had open carry, I never got my concealed carry permit. Since they've changed those laws, I've now gone ahead and started with my concealed carry permit.
We've been talking about making. Because I haven't seen a bunch of people running around with guns on their hips yet, which in Oklahoma I figured if it got passed they probably would have.
I mean, I like it here. I mean, I'll go into my local place where I get coffee most mornings, and you know, any given morning I go in there and there's 2 or 3 guys in there with guns on their hips, and that place isn't getting robbed. You know, Walmart here. You know, people talk about, I guess around the country, a lot of Walmarts are gun-free zones. They're not here. Walk around Walmart. You know, it's not unusual to see somebody carrying a gun on their hip, and nobody bats an eye. And nothing really happens in the Walmarts here either.
Sorry, I was having some latency issues again. I'm not sure what's going on tonight. My internet is just not being a very happy camper at all. Every time I turn around, I'm having to fight it to keep it from losing the connection.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, joys of living out in the country. Apparently my internet's being pissy tonight.
Well, I'd take bad internet and living in the country. Any day of the week.
You know, I have to admit, I honestly thought I would not like moving out to the country, but since we've moved out here, I actually enjoy it. The only thing I don't like is finding out that apparently I am really, really severely allergic to cedar trees, and my whole property has a lot of cedar trees, so that's been a fun adjustment.
Well, that's me. I live in North Carolina, and I'm allergic to pine. I live in the Christmas tree capital of the East Coast. And pine drives my allergies absolutely crazy. That's why I typically sound so nasal, because it's like 24/7. I'm allergic to plenty of other things, but I have 24/7 pine. In the fall and winter, it's pine mold, and in the spring and summer, it's pine pollen.
Yeah, that's always fun.
How the hamsters doing?
Well, I mean, they seem to be back under control. I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be able to keep this running, because the clock's not even running for me right now.
I say, I mean, we kind of talked about planning on just doing an hour tonight anyway. So, let's cut it at an hour this week and get you better.
Okay. So, any last words? Because we got about, if we're going to cut it at 60, we got about 5-6 minutes left. So,
just last words. Well, I mean, we talked about the Women's March last weekend, and from what I hear, that the march today was a great success. I don't see much about it on the news, but in talking to people and people that were there, that it was great and had a great turnout. And there were no vagina hats and vagina costumes. So,
which was
that's
a vast
plus.
improvement. You know, I only have my parting thought, and then we'll actually start getting out of here. As far as Donald Trump, again, I've been on the fence, giving the guy a shot, but there have been a few things that he's starting to do now that have got me a little concerned, like the fact that he's handing out executive orders like people hand out candy on Halloween. We were yelling about Obama doing that. Now he's doing much of the same. Now, I understand some of the executive orders that he's passed are to undo some of the executive orders that Obama has passed, but he needs to bring things more in line with how things are supposed to work in our government, which is laws are supposed to be passed through Congress, not with a pen and a phone. That's what the conservatives have been screaming about for the last 8 years. Now he's doing much of the same. He also, to go back to something that you had touched on last night, Trump needs to stay away from the sycophants. He needs to stay away from folks like Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity, at some point over the last 8 years, has completely lost his way. I like the guy on a personal level. I like when he's on his show and he starts talking about, you know, how he started from nothing and worked his way up. I like that aspect of who he is. I don't like who he's become over the last 8 years. I only got to see a few minutes of the White House interview with Trump, but in my honest opinion, Trump needs to go back to something you had said last night. Trump needs to start staying away from the people that are going to do nothing but cheerlead for him, because he doesn't need to spend the next 4 years in an echo chamber, because he's going to lose touch with what's going on if he does. And some of the executive orders that he's talking about and been working on, some of them could start becoming pretty scary things if he's not careful. And again, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but to bust out the pen and the phone already and have signed more executive orders in the first week he's been in office than any other president in history that I can think of is a little scary to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, and I did touch on that last night. It's and the Sean Hannity thing. I mean, what the way I put it last night is our interview at the White House. Why in the world did Fox send the one guy that has been complaining to everybody for the last year and a half that he's not a journalist and he can say what he wants. He's embarrassed. Hannity has embarrassed himself. There are pictures out there going out in the news and social media of Sean Hannity with these loving looks to Trump. Why in the world wasn't it somebody like, I don't know, send Britt or send anybody but Sean? Why in the world did Fox decide that Sean Hannity was the one to do that interview? The guy who has just completely and totally said he's not a journalist. It should be a journalist doing that interview. That was my point last night, and that's my point now.
It's a point I completely agree with, because Sean Hannity has spent most of his career telling everyone that he's not a journalist. So why would someone who says they're not a journalist go into the White House to interview the president and do so in a non-journalistic capacity? I mean, let's face it, there are plenty of things that could have been talked about in that interview that weren't. And if they'd sent an actual journalist in there, they probably would have been.
Well, yeah, and not only that, a guy that has interviewed Trump on almost what seemed like a nightly basis for the last year. I mean, it seemed like it was almost nightly. Put anybody else. I mean, even if it was one of the, like I said last night, one of the Fox and Friends guys, I mean, I watched Ducey when he was in D.C., when he was actually just a news guy in D.C. Hannity was a house painter. He's never been a journalist. He never took journalism. Do not send that guy in to do your first interview with the new president of the United States. That's just not, I think that was just very unprofessional of Fox to do that. But, so you and I are in complete agreement on that.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this particular abbreviated version of the Robinson and Wright Show. Hopefully we'll be back for the full 2 hours next week, because at this point I honestly can say I am feeling better, but I've been at this point about twice now in the last 3 weeks, so we'll see if I can manage to kick it this time. As we do every time on the way out the door, why don't you remind folks where they can hang out with you when you're not on the radio hanging out with me, even though you do have a much smaller social media footprint than you used to.
You can find me now. My handle on Twitter is @Wright1Dan. That's WRIGHT #1 Dan. And you can also listen to me on Wednesday nights with Susan Swift on Constitution and Culture. And that's @Susan Swift, @Real Susan Swift on Twitter. And she also writes for Politichicks.
All right, and of course,
where can we find you, Rick?
You can hang out with me on Twitter at AOTR_host. If you like to do the old school thing called email, you can shoot me an email at rick@klrnradio.com. And at some point, since I've managed to lock myself out of my professional Facebook page and no longer have access to the email that's associated with it, I will probably be setting up a new one of those soon, but I haven't done it yet. But so for now, and honestly, because I'm not on Facebook nearly as much as I used to be, I would suggest following along on Twitter. You can always, if you have questions or things you want to talk about or feedback, you can shoot those to my Twitter handle or the email address. And, of course, I will do my best to respond. And on that note, folks, we are out. Take care. And like I said, pray that I kick this crap, because this is the third time in about 3 weeks that I've gotten to the point where I start feeling a little bit better, and then a few days later, it starts all over again. So it's getting really, really old. But on that note, we're out. Take care. Have a great night.